Ladies and gentlemen of Prasad, you're watching KiniFlash. The criminal trial of former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak involving alleged abuse of power and laundering of 1MDB funds enters its 8th day at the Kuala Lumpur High Court. During cross-examination, Najib's former special officer Amhari Efendi Nazaruddin told lead defense counsel Muhammad Shafee Abdullah that Irish singer Bono and Queen Rania of Jordan were among the names proposed to be members of the board of trustees of a foundation that was to be set up by the Terengganu Investment Authority, TIA, the predecessor of 1MDB. He said the document also mentioned other individuals as potential members of the TIA Foundation's board of trustees, including Rosmah Mansor. Najib is standing trial for 25 charges of money laundering and abuse of power over alleged misappropriations of 2.28 billion ringgit from 1MDB. Now let's talk about jewellery, not just any jewellery. The High Court in Kuala Lumpur has allowed the application by Rosmah Mansor for a court expert to inspect the amount of jewellery being sought by a Lebanese jeweller. This is subject to the consent of the central bank, which is keeping the jewellery forfeited during the police investigation into the 1MDB case.
So we say, in the interest of justice, our client should be allowed to get a court-appointed expert to verify whether the 44 pieces are there. So that is in that light that the expert evidence application was allowed by the court.
The court also ordered the jeweller from Lebanon, Global Royalty Trading SAL, to pay 75,000 ringgit in security costs instead of the sum of 500,000 applied by Rosmah. Global Royalty sued the wife of former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak on June 26th last year, seeking the return of 44 pieces of jewellery sent to her for selection or to pay the price of all the items amounting to 14.79 million US dollars, or almost 60 million ringgit.
So the plaintiff was first invited to inspect the goods, inspect pictures. Plaintiff inspected photos of the goods.
It's not the
the goods are in Bank Negara.
Oh, okay.
It's in a safe in Bank Negara. The goods are in a safe in Bank Negara. 44, no, all.
Oh.
12, I don't know, 11,000, 12,000, I do not know. 12,000 or 11,000 pieces are in the vault in Bank Negara. The plaintiff was invited by the police to inspect the goods based on a court order that was given by this court to show whether these 44 pieces were indeed in the possession of the police.
Yesterday, Klang MP Charles Santiago was grilled by cops at Bukit Aman for about 90 minutes for a report lodged by controversial Muslim preacher Zakir Naik recently. It was in connection to a press release in August where Charles called the cabinet to discuss about Zakir for allegedly meddling in Malaysian politics. However, Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has said that it is not the way in Malaysia to simply throw out a problem. He also agreed that there was a political cost in taking action against the Indian-born preacher and compared it to the handling of Chinese vernacular schools. Mahathir said this in an interview with business radio station BFM Today. Remember what clear skies look like? I don't, because it's been so long since we've been just seeing haze, and it's been getting worse. The air pollution index reading in several areas of Sarawak recorded unsafe readings, with Sri Aman near Kuching hitting the hazardous level this morning. According to the Environment Department's API readings, as of 8 AM today, the API reading for Sri Aman was at 365, having climbed steadily from a reading of 201 at 10 PM last night. Meanwhile, Kuching recorded very unhealthy API readings, while two areas in Peninsular Malaysia, Johor and Setia Klang and Port Dickson, also recorded very unhealthy readings. The National Disaster Management Agency said over 360,000 students are affected by the closure of 531 schools nationwide. If the haze hasn't made you fall sick, don't worry, the next story may make you feel sick to your stomach. Malaysia is becoming a more significant player in the global shark fin trade as the second largest importer in the world, according to World Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network, Traffic. In fact, Malaysia Kini learned that the country's import of the controversial product increased by more than 2,800 metric tons in just over a decade, ending in 2016. In a study released last week, it was stated that the world's 4 largest importers of shark fin are Hong Kong, Malaysia, mainland China and Singapore. According to Traffic, the cumulative catch of the top 4 importers accounted to 90% of the average annual global imports of fins from 2000 to 2016. The attack on oil facilities in Saudi Arabia has raised tensions in the Middle East, but instead of adding fuel to the fire, US President Donald Trump has chosen a more peaceful approach.
Do I want war? I don't want war with anybody. I'm somebody that would like not to have war. We have the strongest military in the world. We've spent more than $1.5 trillion in the last short period of time on our military. Nobody's even come close. There's nobody that has the F-35. We have the best fighter jets, the best rockets, the best missiles, the best equipment. But with all of that being said, we'd certainly like to avoid it.
United States President Donald Trump said on Monday that it looked like Iran was behind the attacks on oil plants in Saudi Arabia, but stressed that he did not want to go to war, as the attacks sent oil prices soaring and raised fears of a new Middle Eastern conflict. Iran has rejected US charges that it was behind the strikes on Saturday that damaged the world's biggest crude oil processing plant and triggered the largest jump in crude oil prices in decades. Relations between the United States and Iran have deteriorated since Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear accord last year and reimposed sanctions over Tehran's nuclear and ballistic programs. Washington also wants to pressure Tehran to end its support of regional proxy forces, including in Yemen, where Saudi forces have been fighting Iran-backed Houthis for years. Trump said that the US was still investigating if Iran was behind the Saudi strikes, but added that it is, quote, certainly looking that way at the moment. Trump, who spent much of his presidency trying to disentangle the United States from the wars he inherited, made clear, however, that he was not going to rush into a new conflict on behalf of Saudi Arabia. Several US cabinet members, including Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Energy Secretary Rick Perry, have blamed Tehran for the strikes. Trump told reporters that Pompeo and others will travel to Saudi Arabia soon. The attacks are said to have cut 5% of the world's crude oil production.
Dozens of tigers have died in Thailand. Who is to be blamed? Here's the report.
Thailand's much-criticized Tiger Temple tourist attraction on Monday blamed the government for the deaths of scores of its tigers seized by authorities in 2016, denying official accounts that the big cats died from inbreeding and disease. Thai authorities maintained on Monday that the tigers were well taken care of at government sanctuaries and that they caught diseases like canine distemper virus or laryngeal paralysis because inbreeding had destroyed their immune system.
Those tigers were inbreeding with each other, which will affect the condition of their health.
The Buddhist temple west of Bangkok was once a tourist hotspot where visitors took photos with tigers and bottle-fed cubs until international pressure over wildlife trafficking prompted authorities to confiscate 147 tigers in 2016. Since then, however, 86 of the animals living in 2 state-run wildlife sanctuaries have died due to immune deficiencies from inbreeding, which according to state wildlife authorities made the animals vulnerable to deadly diseases. The temple's caretaker denied this on Monday, saying that they did not die because of inbreeding. Despite the 2016 raid and allegations that it had links with wildlife trafficking, the temple, officially named Wat Pa Luang Tabwa, remains a tourist attraction as a private wildlife sanctuary that allows people to feed animals for free. It has denied any connection with animal trafficking.
And here are several other news highlights from today. And that is all from me today. For more stories, go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Prasad. Thank you for watching. Good night.